No one. The world's most isolated nation. Once the power center of the largest empire in human history, from which Genghis Khan launched his conquests and expanded territory from Asia to Europe, Mongolia once struck fear into the entire world. However, after the empire's collapse, the nation seemed to vanish from the global map of power. With no seaports, no participation in major military alliances, and nestled between the two superpowers of China and Russia, Mongolia has become one of the most isolated nations on the planet, both geographically and politically. Mongolia boasts some of the most diverse and impressive terrain in Asia. From the Altai Mountains with the perpetually snow-capped Khitan Peak and the vast, arid Gobi Desert, to hundreds of freshwater and saltwater lakes like Kuvsgul and Uvs, all contribute to a captivatingly contrasting landscape. This sheer diversity makes Mongolia an ideal destination for those passionate about exploring pristine and distinctive natural environments. Spanning nearly 1.6 million square kilometers, almost 3 times the size of the US state of Texas, Mongolia proudly stands as the largest landlocked country on Earth. Yet, remarkably, its population is a mere approximately 3.4 million people, creating a stark and impressive contrast. The population density is incredibly low, an average of just 2 people per square kilometer. Imagine driving for hours across vast steppes without encountering a single soul, giving you the feeling that an entire expansive landscape belongs to you alone. Furthermore, livestock here outnumber people by a staggering 20 to 1. With approximately 70 million sheep, goats, cattle, horses, and camels, it's entirely plausible you might encounter a horse long before you see another person. The climate is also extreme. Winters can plummet to -40 degrees Celsius in some regions, while summers are dry and intensely sunny. However, thanks to the high altitude and clean air, the heat is generally not too oppressive, ideal for incredible adventures across the vast steppes. The official language is Mongolian, which uses the Cyrillic alphabet, a legacy from the Soviet era. However, some remote areas still preserve the unique traditional Mongolian script, written vertically, resembling a cultural tapestry woven over millennia. Number 2. Mongolian women. Beautiful, talented, yet struggling to find partners. Mongolian women possess a very distinctive beauty. Their skin, often naturally fair and rosy due to the climate, is complemented by high cheekbones that lend a unique character, and facial features that are a fascinating blend of East Asian and Central Asian aesthetics, both strong and subtly soft. They typically have fit, well-proportioned physiques, a result of an active lifestyle that often includes horse riding, herding livestock, and working outdoors from a young age. Without much need for cosmetics, they exude an air of confidence and strength that is captivating. Beyond their beauty, Mongolian women are also recognized as one of the most highly educated female populations in Asia. Over 60% of university students in the country are female, one of the highest ratios globally. Consequently, it's no surprise that today, many Mongolian women hold significant positions in society as doctors, university lecturers, or managers in companies and organizations. They are highly educated, financially independent, and possess a very modern and open mindset. However, an interesting paradox exists in Mongolia. Precisely because they are so accomplished, independent, and possess modern mindsets, many Mongolian women face difficulties in finding suitable partners within the country. Their open-mindedness means many are no longer particularly drawn to traditional, sometimes restrictive, societal views on marriage. Meanwhile, a significant portion of men in rural areas may have lower levels of education, more conservative thinking, and sometimes even a tendency towards financial dependence. This considerable disparity in education, mindset, and differing life expectations has led to a growing number of single women in Mongolia, particularly in the capital, Ulaanbaatar. Consequently, an increasing number of Mongolian women are proactively expanding their search for partners beyond their borders, often through popular international dating apps like Tinder or Bumble. They often share that they value Western men for the respect shown to women, the spirit of gender equality in relationships, and the ability to share both responsibilities and emotions. This might also be good news, and an opportunity for many foreign men seeking a life partner who is not only captivatingly beautiful and intelligent, but also possesses a rare, independent, and strong personality. Would you like to know the secrets to winning the hearts of these daughters of the steppe? If so, comment with the number 2. and we'll reveal them to you right away. Number 3. A navy without a sea. Mongolia's landlocked force. A country with no sea, yet it has a navy? It sounds like a joke, but it's entirely true in Mongolia, the world's only landlocked nation to boast a naval force operating far inland. Despite being entirely landlocked, Mongolia maintains an official naval force complete with uniforms, training, and clearly defined duties. This contingent currently operates on Lake Kovsgol, one of the world's deepest and most pristine freshwater lakes, nicknamed the Blue Pearl of Mongolia. And if you're curious, the entire Mongolian Navy currently consists of just 7 members, a single old Soviet-era tugboat, and a few small motorboats. Their duties include patrolling the lake, conducting rescue operations, and supporting tourism activities. A little-known interesting fact is that in the 13th century, under Kublai Khan, Mongolia once possessed a formidable naval force with thousands of warships, used for maritime invasions of Japan and Southeast Asia. Despite having no sea of its own, Mongolia once made even coastal nations tremble on their very own waters. Today, this lake-bound navy is not just a safety and security force, but also a unique symbol of the Mongolian spirit. No sea, still a navy. Some sailors even double as tour guides for visitors, helping to share the unique story of their nation's history and identity. Number 4. Snow in the desert. The Gobi anomaly. Unlike scorching hot deserts such as the Sahara, the Gobi is a cold desert, primarily because it sits at an average altitude of over 1,500 meters. During winter, temperatures here can plummet to -40 degrees Celsius, with white snow blanketing the golden sand dunes, creating an unbelievably surreal landscape. It's one of the rare places on Earth where you can witness snow on sand, a phenomenon that is both frigid and harsh. But that's not all. The Gobi is also the cradle of a landmark discovery in the history of paleontology. In 1923, American paleontologists found the world's first fossilized dinosaur eggs right here. Since then, a plethora of other fossils, from bones and eggs to dinosaur footprints, have been continuously unearthed, transforming the region into a paleontologist's paradise. Some areas have even been dubbed Dinosaur Valley, as they hold some of the world's largest reserves of dinosaur fossils. And the wonders don't stop there. The Gobi was once a sea. Hundreds of millions of years ago, this region was an ancient seabed. Traces of fossilized shells, coral, and marine life are still found scattered throughout the area, recounting a spectacular chapter in Earth's geological history. Do you think a desert that has snow, dinosaurs, and was once an ocean deserves to be called the planet's most bizarre wonder? Leave a comment with Gobi if you also find this place truly incredible. Number 5. Ulaanbaatar, the world's coldest capital. The coldest inhabited capital city in the world isn't in the Arctic or Siberia, but rather Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, a place where your breath can visibly freeze the moment you step outside. Situated at an altitude of nearly 1,300 meters, enveloped by mountains and subject to harsh monsoons, Ulaanbaatar frequently experiences winters that can last up to 6 months, with temperatures recorded as low as -49 degrees Celsius. The cold here not only cracks skin, but can also cause smartphones to shut down and become unusable. Yet, paradoxically, the colder it gets, the more people seem to stay. Despite these harsh conditions, the capital is home to over half of Mongolia's population, with more than 1.6 million people enduring the bitter cold together. Notably, many residential areas lack central heating systems. Residents often resort to burning wood, coal, and even anything combustible to stay warm, which unfortunately makes the city one of the most severely air-polluted places during winter. So, how do Mongolians manage to live and even thrive and develop in such extreme, icy conditions? The answer perhaps lies in a spirit of steel and a nomadic indomitability honed over thousands of years. They don't just strive to survive, they maintain outdoor lifestyles, organize vibrant winter festivals featuring traditional sports, ride horses across snow-covered fields, and even casually enjoy fermented mare's milk, air-rag in temperatures tens of degrees below zero, as if it were a refreshing summer cocktail. For them, the cold is seemingly not an enemy to be shunned, but an inseparable part of their national identity. Number 6. Genghis Khan's tomb, an 800-year-old unsolved mystery. Genghis Khan, The great emperor who once conquered half the known world passed away in 1227. Yet, nearly 800 years later, the world still does not know where he was laid to rest. With no mausoleum, no headstone, and no clear traces whatsoever, this absolute silence transforms his final resting place into one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. How could one of its most powerful figures completely vanish from the map? Legend has it that Genghis Khan's burial was shrouded in such extreme secrecy that all who participated in the funeral rites, from soldiers to attendants, were executed immediately afterward to ensure no one could ever reveal the tomb's location. After the burial, thousands of horses were reportedly made to trample the area to obliterate any trace of the grave on the surface. Other accounts suggest a river was diverted to flow over and completely conceal the tomb, or even that the entire funeral escort was buried alongside him to protect the Great Khan. These rather gruesome and extreme details have only added to the legend, making the tomb a fervent topic of interest for archaeologists and exploration enthusiasts worldwide for centuries. Even with the most advanced 21st century technology, the mystery of Genghis Khan's tomb remains an intractable puzzle. High-resolution satellite imagery, terrain-scanning drones, magnetic sensors, and ground-penetrating radar have all been employed in dozens of large-scale projects, yet all have failed to locate it. One international project even used artificial intelligence to analyze every square meter of eastern Mongolia, but ultimately yielded no useful information. Are you curious about where the tomb truly lies? Comment with the number 8 if you're also captivated by this mystery. Number 7. 16 million descendants. Genghis Khan, Asia's genetic forefather? Throughout human history, few individuals have left as profound and widespread a genetic mark as Genghis Khan. A study published in 2003 stunned the scientific world. Approximately 8% of men in a vast region stretching from Central Asia to Southeast Asia, equivalent to over 16 million individuals, share a common Y chromosome. Notably, this particular Y chromosome traces back to a single common male ancestor who lived approximately 800 years ago. And that ancestor, researchers believe, was none other than the great Mongol Emperor himself. Genghis Khan didn't just conquer continents with his armies. He also expanded his territory in a very biological sense. He had hundreds of wives and concubines, many of whom were princesses from the lands he vanquished. In ancient Mongolian culture, marrying women from conquered lineages was not just an assertion of power, but also a strategy for sowing influence long-term through bloodlines. Over many generations, his descendants have spread so widely that they could populate an entire modern city. However, many wonder how, after nearly 800 years, the Great Khan's genetic lineage could still be so strongly transmitted. The secret lies in the Y chromosome, which is passed down exclusively through the male line, a genetic marker he and his direct male descendants carried. Thanks to this, Genghis Khan's lineage has spread persistently through numerous generations. With its impressive rate of dissemination, this genetic lineage is now even considered one of the most common Y chromosomes globally. Thus, Genghis Khan is renowned not only as a legendary emperor on horseback, but also, in a very literal modern biological sense, as history's greatest sower of seed. Are you surprised by this genetic record? If you find this one of the most extraordinary facts about humankind, leave a comment with the number 7. Number 8. Summer weddings for winter babies. A Mongolian tradition? In Mongolia, weddings are not merely a matter of love, but also traditionally served as a survival strategy for the harsh winters. The traditional wedding season typically occurs in mid-summer, not solely due to pleasant weather or blooming flowers, but strategically so that babies are born during the winter. With a climate where temperatures can plummet below -40 degrees Celsius, Mongolians believe that newborns born during this frigid period will develop resilience from the very beginning, a form of natural adaptation to their land of biting cold winds. Mongolian wedding ceremonies are also quite unique, typically lasting 2-3 days and deeply reflecting nomadic traditions. The bridal procession often travels by horse or horse-drawn carriage, carrying milk wine and singing traditional folk songs. Upon arrival, the bride doesn't simply enter her new home. She must undergo a series of rituals, including tests of physical endurance and witty responses before the groom's family, as a way of proving her mettle before joining the new household. And perhaps most surprisingly, there's the wedding night. In some rural areas, the young couple's first night historically involved the presence of an instructor, typically an older woman, whose role was to offer emotional support and practical guidance. While this custom has largely disappeared or significantly faded today, in the past, it was considered a formal way for the older generation to impart wisdom and experience on maintaining marital bliss to the younger generation. If this sounds like a real-life marriage instruction manual, you wouldn't be far off. Ancient Mongolians seemingly never wanted young couples to have to fend for themselves on their crucial first night. Number 9. Nomadic lifestyle, bridging modernity and antiquity. While much of the world rushes towards technology, high-rise buildings, and urbanization in Mongolia, over 1 million people, more than 30% of the population, and still maintain a nomadic lifestyle, much as their ancestors have for thousands of years. They move seasonally, living in traditional dwellings called jurs. These dwellings can be assembled in just 2-3 hours and can be erected entirely by hand, without requiring a single nail or any machinery. Once completed, the jur becomes a fully functional home on the steppe, a place where the entire family eats, sleeps, cooks, and carries out daily life, almost as if they are on a lifelong camping trip. Nomadic Mongolians can set up their gurs wherever they choose, be it in the desert, on vast, lush, green steppes, or at the foot of a majestic mountain. Then, a few months later, as seasons change or pastures for their livestock dwindle, they pack their belongings and move to new lands. It might sound somewhat rootless and difficult to locate one another in such vast expanses, but nomadic communities seem to possess their own highly effective, natural GPS. They use familiar landmarks like mountains and rivers, observe natural signs from the land and sky, and even rely on word-of-mouth messages to find one another. Interestingly, despite living in jurs, Mongolians keep pace with modern technologies and are not as isolated from them as one might imagine. In front of many gurs, you might find a solar panel used for charging phones and powering televisions, and some even have Wi-Fi. Some even live-stream steppe sunsets to their relatives in the city. This way of life, simple and close to nature, yet still embracing technology, mirrors the off-grid lifestyle trend emerging in many Western countries. The only small difference is, Mongolians aren't following a trend. They've been living this way for thousands of years. Number 10. Mongolians. Bathing only every few months? In Mongolia, particularly in rural and nomadic areas, it's not uncommon for people to bathe only once every few months. However, this isn't due to laziness, but rather stems from a traditional belief that frequent bathing, especially in winter, can lead to energy loss, increased susceptibility to illness, and diminished vitality. Moreover, when outdoor temperatures are negative 30 degrees Celsius, even just accessing running water can be a survival challenge, making bathing a true luxury. Another reason for infrequent bathing among Mongolians is that clean water is a luxury on the steppes. With their nomadic lifestyle, Mongolians must prioritize water for cooking, their livestock, and other essential needs. Using tens of liters of water for a full-body soak is often unimaginable. To them, a container of clean water can be as precious as a bottle of vintage wine in Manhattan. Consequently, many people may only bathe a few times a month, or perhaps even just a few times a season. Despite not bathing frequently, Mongolians have unique and effective methods for personal hygiene. They use dry or damp cloths to wipe their bodies, and then sometimes smudge themselves with smoke from specific plants like Bodhi or mugwort to purify negative energies, and deodorize. Additionally, they use natural herbal powders with moisture-absorbing and deodorizing properties, often made from dried and ground tree roots or bark, applied to sweat-prone areas like armpits, necks, and palms to keep the skin dry and clean. It's a kind of manual dry cleaning that is both close to nature and conserves every precious drop of water. If you had the chance to travel to Mongolia, would you dare to try living for a few days? No shower, no hot water heater, style out on the steppes? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Number 11. Extreme ancient hospitality. When husbands offered wives to share warmth with guests, nowhere is the harshness of cold felt as acutely as on the Mongolian steppes. During winter, temperatures can plummet to negative 40 degrees Celsius. Winds howl through every crevice, and survival can sometimes depend on a little warmth from the person beside you. In such living conditions, Ancient Mongolians historically practiced a remarkable form of hospitality. If a stranger arrived on a freezing winter night, the host was prepared to share everything, from food and shelter to bodily warmth. This practice even extended to the host, allowing his wife to sleep with the guest to help provide vital warmth. This was not for any untoward purposes, as one might imagine, but based on a very practical reality. Women generally have a more stable and higher body temperature during sleep, making them better at transferring warmth on a bitterly cold night. In such extreme conditions, where survival itself was at stake, keeping each other alive was considered more important than any contemporary social norms. Although this custom has largely vanished today, it is still recalled by some Mongolians as a rare symbol of hospitality that transcended conventional norms, where a family was prepared to sacrifice absolute privacy to save a stranger's life on the frozen steppe. Number 12. Refusing tea in Mongolia. A grave insult. You might be able to decline a meal, an invitation to ride a horse, or even an offer to stay overnight. But refusing a cup of tea in Mongolia could be seen as a deeply disrespectful act. Mongolians call it sute tsai, a traditional beverage resembling tea but prepared with milk, salt, and sometimes butter, often giving it the consistency and savory, slightly salty taste of a thin soup. For nomads, sute tsai is not merely a thirst quencher, but an indispensable part of daily life, often consumed instead of plain water. On average, a person might drink 6 to 10 bowls a day to stay warm and replenish nutrients. But what makes sute tsai even more special is its significance in daily social interactions. Each bowl of tea is a respectful greeting, a bond connecting host and guest. Whether for friends or passing strangers, an invitation to drink tea is always the first ritual of hospitality. Refusing it is tantamount to saying, "I do not respect you." Therefore, a small tip. If you're unaccustomed to this salty tea, try to smile, accept it graciously, and take at least a small sip. This gesture shows respect and helps the host family maintain face, a very important consideration. Another fascinating tradition related to this tea is that the very first bowl brewed is not meant for drinking. Mongolians will flick a portion of the tea to the 4 cardinal directions, a solemn ritual offering it to the sky, earth, ancestors, and spirits. This small gesture signifies a prayer for peace and good fortune, reflecting a harmonious connection between humans and the cosmos. A bowl of tea on the steppe is not merely a beverage, it is the very soul of nomadic hospitality. Number 13. The Mongolian deal. Robe, sleeping bag, backpack, and wardrobe in one. In Mongolia, there's an item of clothing that can practically replace an entire suitcase. It's the deal, a traditional robe that not only keeps you warm and stores your belongings, but also serves as a blanket and can even transform into a sleeping bag on the frigid steppes. The deal is more than just clothing. It's a true companion in the nomadic way of life. The deal is cleverly designed with large overlapping folds at the front, creating a hidden pocket capacious enough to hold all sorts of essentials, from a small knife, dried bread, and money to gloves, and even a teacup. When setting up camp in the biting wind, a Mongolian can simply recline within their deal, and it becomes a warm and convenient sleeping bag. If you think jeans pockets are handy, the deal might just make you reconsider. Beyond its extreme practicality, the deal also serves as a way to read the wearer, reflecting their social status and age. Traditionally, deals are crafted with varying colors, materials, and decorative patterns depending on the wearer's gender, age, and even social class. Children typically wear bright colors like yellow or orange. Older individuals opt for darker tones such as deep blue or brown, and the ancient nobility used hand-embroidered fabrics and belts of silver or fine leather. The deal is like a fabric identity card, readily indicating who a person is and their origins. Despite the many changes in modern life and the advent of countless fashionable garments, many Mongolians still proudly wear the traditional deal in their daily lives, especially in rural areas and during important festive occasions. In winter, the deal provides warmth comparable to a modern coat, yet it is lighter and more compact. Mongolian youth have even innovated the deal with trendy modifications, adding zippers, waterproof pockets, and insulating materials, transforming it into an extremely practical, IKEA-style utility coat that still retains its national spirit. Number 14. Mongolia's no-price, tag market, where haggling is an art. Think market shopping involves price tags, scanning barcodes, and then paying? In Mongolia, especially at the Naran-Tuul market, the country's largest and most bustling bazaar, virtually no item has a fixed price. From a pair of sheepskin boots and a thick winter coat to a phone SIM card, everything carries an open price dependent on your negotiation skills. Here, shopping isn't just a transaction. It's a social game where a charming smile, a determined gaze, or sheer persistence can mean the difference between snagging a bargain or paying double. Moreover, many transactions here don't even involve money. On the steps, people bring dried meat, hardened butter, tea bricks, or sheepskin to trade for warm clothing, tools, or old phones. This scene transforms the market into something like a modern-day barter party, where money is secondary, and trust and personal connections become the primary currency. It feels as if you've stepped back into an era of bartering, an experience no modern shopping mall could ever replicate. But the intrigue doesn't end there. Venture deeper into the market, and you'll find a small corner dedicated to food, where the aroma of fried kushur, hearty beef soup, and hot, salty tea wafts through billowing smoke. Don't expect menus or price lists here either, because there's a uniquely local way of ordering. You simply point at a simmering pot, and the cook will ladle out something based on their inspiration. For Western visitors, it's a surprising game of culinary roulette. You don't know exactly what you're about to eat, but most dishes turn out to be so delicious, you'll want to return for more. Are you ready to step into this fascinating market? Comment with the number 14 if you'd like to try the Mongolian bargaining experience. Number 15. Mongolia's four-hoofed Wi-Fi. The ancient Yam postal system. Long before the internet or modern postal services, the Mongol Empire possessed an astonishing four-hoofed Wi-Fi system. The Yam, an incredibly effective horse-based mail relay network. With over 1,400 relay stations positioned approximately 40 kilometers apart, intrepid dispatch riders could cover more than 200 kilometers daily. They constantly changed horses at these stations to maintain a breakneck pace, allowing messages to gallop from the farthest reaches of Asia to the very gates of Europe without the aid of satellite maps. A truly remarkable feat for its time. This Yam system was the communication backbone of a vast empire, with over 50,000 horses always ready for riders to relay messages, transmitting urgent military intelligence or royal decrees at record speeds. If you've heard of the Pony Express as the pride of the American West, then Mongolia's Yam system was essentially the original version in Asia, operating nearly 600 years earlier. Remarkably, Yam dispatch riders needed no Google Maps or any other navigational devices. They were true navigational wizards of the Middle Ages, knowing every path and route by heart, relying on observations of terrain, wind direction, and natural signs across the vast steppes. They could read the signs of the land and sky as fluently as we read messages on our phones today. Thus, the Yam system is not only considered one of the world's earliest organized postal networks, but was also a crucial factor that enabled the Mongol Empire to conquer and control nearly half the known world. Number 16. Vets on horseback. Mongolian house calls. In the remote steppes of Mongolia, where nomadic families live dozens of kilometers apart, veterinarians cannot simply wait in a clinic like their counterparts in the city. Instead, they ride horses across grasslands and through snowstorms, traveling hundreds of kilometers just to treat a limping camel or a listless cow. This isn't a scene from a Western film. It's their daily work, imbued with dedication and a love for animals. What's remarkable is that these veterinarians don't just use Western medicine. They also incorporate traditional remedies such as wormwood, wine, bone char powder, or administering fluids using plastic tubes and old cloth strips. There are no operating rooms or surgical lights. Every emergency surgery takes place right on the grassland, amidst wind and snow, and sometimes in temperatures as low as -20 degrees Celsius. Yet, many animals miraculously survive thanks to their skillful hands and expertise. For the Mongolian people, a cow, a goat, or a horse is not just livestock. It's property, a source of livelihood, and a means of traversing the steppes. Saving an animal means saving an entire family from hunger and cold. It's no wonder that many locals jokingly say with deep respect, "We trust veterinarians more than the government," because they save the most important thing, our animals, and our hope. Number 17. Mongolian nomadic cuisine. unique and hearty flavors. Mongolian cuisine might not be as elaborate as that of many other places, but it harbors unique flavors that deeply reflect the nomadic lifestyle amidst a harsh natural environment. Let's take a quick roll call of a few unmissable specialties. First up is korkog, Mongolia's truly unique traditional mutton dish. The meat isn't cooked directly over a fire, but rather by placing it in a sealed pot along with river stones that have been heated until glowing red. The intense heat from these stones cooks the meat evenly from the inside out, perfectly preserving its natural sweetness. The result is tender, fragrant mutton, imbued with a hint of smoke and the distinctive mineral taste from the stones, a true nomad-level BBQ experience. Next is a snack that might make many wary, yet it's a lifesaver during Mongolian winters that can reach -40 degrees Celsius. Mutton fat. In this frigid land, fat isn't an enemy but a vital friend, helping to keep the body warm and providing an abundant source of energy. Mongolians often consume pieces of mutton fat that have been boiled, fried, or even eaten cold, much like a calorie-dense piece of cheese. For nomads, a piece of fat can sometimes be as valuable as a backup power bank on the frozen, snowy steppes. Finally, one must mention arag, a naturally fermented mare's milk. Considered the national beverage and the very soul of festivals like Naadam, arag has a distinctive mild sourness. Its initial aroma might be unfamiliar to the uninitiated, but it typically becomes quite palatable and refreshing after the first few sips. It's often served in large wooden bowls and passed around for communal drinking, a ritual that signifies community bonding. It's enjoyed both for warmth and is also believed to act as an icebreaker, making conversation flow more easily. If you've ever tried kefir or a yogurt drink, imagine a more nomadic, distinctly equine, and perhaps slightly stronger version. That's arag. Number 18. Mongolia's most spectacular festivals. If the West has the Olympics, then the Mongolians have Naadam, a quintessential, traditional nomadic outdoor sporting festival. Held annually in July, Naadam is the country's largest festival, featuring 3 sports considered symbols of masculinity: horse racing, archery, and wrestling. But even more fascinating is the large number of young girls who also compete, galloping across 30 kilometers of grassland at incredible speeds, making the spectators sitting on the grass, wearing fur hats, and munching on kosher fried pastries, clap and cheer non-stop with their characteristic throat singing. Naadam isn't just a competition, it's a living spirit, a passionate festival of a freedom-loving people. After the bustling festival days, the Mongolians enter the most solemn time of the year, Tsagan Sar, White Moon Festival. Celebrated in February, according to the lunar calendar, Tsagan Sar is a time for grand reunions, where everyone wears traditional costumes, offers tea, sheep, fat, and milk to their ancestors, and exchanges the greeting Amjilt Kushe, meaning wishing for success in the new year. The feast lasts for many days, with dozens of meat dishes, pastries, and tea, showcasing the boundless hospitality of the nomads. And if you think Mongolia is only about horse riding and hunting, then come to the Ku Festival, where artisans gather to perform kume, a unique throat-singing art. The singer emits 2 sounds simultaneously from their throat, one deep and resonant like the sound of rocks, the other high-pitched like the whistling wind, giving listeners the sensation that nature itself is speaking. UNESCO has recognized kume as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity, not only for its unique technique, but also for its unmistakable spirit of connection between humans and nature. Number 19. Mongolia's magnificent landscapes and destinations. Hidden amidst the vast steppes lies Karakorum, the ancient capital of the Mongol Empire, where Genghis Khan once pointed his finger and charted the world. Although today only stone foundations and ancient remnants remain, as you step across this land, you can envision the scene of thousands of envoys from Europe and Arabia once bowing before the great Khan, a silent yet magnificent relic, like a map etched onto the grass, wind, and time. Right next to it stands Erdene Zu Monastery, the oldest Buddhist monastery in Mongolia, built in 1585, and surrounded by over 100 white stupas. Despite being ravaged during the communist era, it still preserves ancient murals, statues, and traditional rituals, a living museum amidst the sky and clouds. For Western visitors, this is not just a temple but a gateway to the soul of Mongolian culture. Venturing further north, you will encounter Lake Kovsgol, dubbed the Blue Pearl of Mongolia. With a depth of over 260 meters and containing up to 2% of Asia's freshwater, the lake offers crystal-clear views to its bottom and is surrounded by pine forests, snow-capped mountains, and herds of wild horses grazing along its shores. In summer, it's a paradise for trekking and horseback riding. In winter, the lake's surface transforms into a vast ice rink, hosting unique ice festivals. And finally, take a moment to pause in the Orkhon Valley, where nature and history intertwine. Recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, this land bears witness to over 2,000 years of nomadic history, with endless green fields, the winding Orkhon River, and countless ancient relics scattered like whispers from the past. Number 20. An extremely affordable cost of living. In Ulaanbaatar, the capital and economic hub of Mongolia, you can rent a decent one-bedroom apartment, fully furnished, for a price ranging from $300 to $450 per month. If you choose to live in the suburbs or rural areas, this figure becomes even more attractive, at just $150 to $250 per month. Regarding food costs, a traditional meal featuring delicious lamb, hot dumplings, and the characteristic fermented yogurt at a basic local eatery will only cost you about $3 to $5. If you prefer to prepare cozy meals at home, the monthly food expenses for fresh vegetables, meat, milk, and local grains will fall in the range of $150 to $200. Transportation costs in Mongolia are quite low. A public bus ticket is only about 20-30 cents per ride, and long-distance shared taxis between provinces typically cost just $10, $15 for several hundred kilometers. Utility costs in Mongolia, such as electricity, water, and internet, are quite affordable. The total basic bill for a household usually ranges from $60 to $80 per month. Notably, high-speed internet packages here are priced under $25 per month, something not easily found in a vast country with many remote areas like Mongolia. Thus, a person living in Ulaanbaatar can spend a total of about $600 to $800 per month for basic needs. With such a cost of living, do you think Mongolia is a potential destination for a visit or even long-term settlement? Leave comment number 1 if you feel interested, or number 0 if you are still hesitant. So, we've now explored 20 fascinating facts about Mongolia. Hopefully, what we've just shared has given you a fresh and deeper perspective on this amazing country. If you found this video helpful, please hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next exploration journeys. Which fact impressed you the most? Don't hesitate to leave a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. The information is for reference only, so please do your own research before making any decisions.